Hey, Pat.
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Good, good, good. It's great to see you.
How's it going?
It's great to see you.
Thank you. Um,
So,
thank you.
so we've
Same
been
here.
talking
Same here. So,
about some pretty good stuff. Why don't you just continue?
okay, I'll try to pick up where we were just on before, what we were just talking about before we started recording. No, I guess I was sharing that the largest portion of my life was spent really trying just to feel the feelings that were comfortable, and pretty much compartmentalizing anything that was hard, including my mother's death, including my husband's death, including other deaths, losses, and really just I just was really astute at compartmentalizing all of those things that were what we I think sometimes refer to as the dark emotions, the emotions that are not so comfortable. Um, and for whatever reason, maybe it's my age, I think that Alan's death, my husband's death, was certainly a piece, a relationship that followed that was very difficult and ended. The times, just the general times, the uh, where's the bomb going to come from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And as I've opened up a little more to, feeling more of these feelings and doing some healing work with other, with people that help me out, um, it occurs to me that it's almost like I was living a half of a life, like I was living this life that was just, don't bother me with the details. I'm I was an active alcoholic for a number of years. I'm sober now, thankfully, for over 30 years. So that alcoholism was definitely a piece of that escape hatch, like, I'm going to get through this day, whatever day I was in, working, whatever, and then I'm going to drink. And that thought of having that drink would keep the wolves at the door. And this went on. It was that way, it was this way, it was this and that, relationship stuff for certain. But so as these feelings have been starting to flood me, and I'm not holding them back, um, I thought, wow, so how many people are walking around, to use this term, fully integrated humans, fully in their pains, in their darkness, in their struggles, in their troubles, and letting that be there. How many? I'm thinking not many. I could be wrong, but the tell for me, or the way that I can sort of determine this, is that um, I can tell, like, even having a conversation with someone, if I begin traveling down, I don't know, tell the truth road, I can see the person like, too much information. Hey, did you try that new recipe I told you about? Can we switch the subject? I'm a little uncomfortable. Um, so I'm just saying that because I see that feeling widespread. Interestingly, though, I can go in the supermarket and I can be walking down an aisle, and the person will begin to look at me, and I'll keep my eyes on them. And there is an energy that says that I hear as, hey, hey, can not exactly, can you help me, but hey, uh, are you okay? I'm not okay. The words don't. We're not saying those words. But we're saying it with our eyes and with our body language, and then we just pass.
It's soul talk.
It's soul talk. Exactly. Great, great phrase for it. And it's a stranger. And that's not happening in every single person that goes down the aisle. I'm not saying that, but I can see it, because what happens is they start catching your eye. They need to look in the eye. They have a desire. And then there's the opposite, people keeping their eyes down. They're not looking up at all. So when the eye meets, I think you're right. There's some soul, the soul opens a bit in spite of ourselves. I guess the whole point of all of this is, wow, no wonder people do not go down this road very often, because there's hardly anything in place that's going to support that journey. It's like you're wrong to do it. You're taking a big chance with your life to be real. Yeah.
I want to clap for you. I'm so grateful for your diagnosis of cultural diagnosis. And so God is in that moment, because it's a soul. What do we call it? Soul something? Anyway, it's
soul talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And God is, God is our soul. So
yeah, that's really beautiful.
We need to I feel like, remember Simon and Garfunkel, the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what you just said could have been one of those things, the words of the prophets. I mean, when we get in these, I think we all have prophetic moments where we just speak the truth. It's agonizing, it's painful, it rips your heart apart, but it's true, and that's what the prophets did, and that's what you just said. And it just needs it needs acknowledgement. It needs the air to breathe. This is happening.
Yeah.
We've been isolated from each other for 3 years. We think that the person who is coming towards us is the enemy because of the germs that they have. There's all kinds of, and even before the pandemic, there was this division. It's us against them, and never the twain shall come together. But we are all God. We are all a piece of God, and we have to come together. So your vision of this coming down the supermarket aisle, and you're inching towards each other, thinking, is this, are you safe? Am I safe with you? Could we have some kind of connection? And then you just kind of keep going. We want
well, actually, that's not what I don't think that's what I shared. I actually see, if a person catches my eye and keeps my eye, because I will usually, but not always. Sometimes I'll divert my eyes, but I'm getting better at holding it. And then what happens is not this thought about, I'm afraid of you, or you might have germs or anything. There's something else takes over, and it's like, okay, we can do this. We can look at each other in the eye and, hey, nice to see you. And sometimes there will be a word passed, like, hi, hi. And so, but that's the port in the storm. The storm is then you do pass by, and then it's back to, square one, ground zero. What was it that I need to know?
I think what you described, that sort of psychic connection is very, very life-giving, and it's underestimated, I think.
I agree. I agree.
I think all it requires is one person engaging in it. You don't have, you have no
Yeah,
control over
yeah,
how they're reacting, but yeah, I think it's
right.
powerful stuff.
I do too. I
Yeah.
do too.
And I think
Yeah,
the acknowledgement of it is the acknowledgement of our distress is very important. You can't really own it
it
until you
is.
acknowledge it.
It is. Yeah. And of course, again, we're in, basically in a culture, and more than basically, we are in a culture that um, um, really asks you to put that stuff away
Mhm.
and, show up and be who you're not. Be who you're not, please.
Bring out one of your masks
We,
and put it on.
that's all. That's all. We don't need any of your dark sadness and loss and grief. Please. There's work to be done after all. We've got things to do, and all that gets in the way. So let's pick it up, folks.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
these voices in the wilderness like Francis Weller, who does all this beautiful, beautiful work with grief.
Yep.
And I don't
Yep.
mean beautiful in everything is nice. I mean beautiful in how much depth, how much authenticity, how much um um
Truth
insightfulness.
and truth.
Truth, yeah, yeah, he's bringing out the truth. And there's
Yep.
all these people out there who are doing really great work. It's maybe an individual here and there, a small group here and there, but it's beautiful. It's a
Yeah.
healing. It's healing our culture, healing our society, which is made up
Yep.
of millions and millions of little pieces of God that are walking around. And
Yeah.
we all want and need love, and we all want and need connection, and we all want
Yes.
and need
Yes.
um community. We need to be together with each other.
Yes. Yes. And I just add to that um, we also have to give ourselves these things, um, that we have, like I just know that um, I have a lot of things that are sort of stuck in my body, old stuff that I have not honored. And I do that work now. I'm on that journey. Um,
And by that, I
so I'm
think,
just bringing it up because I often
I
I bring that up. I bring it up because I will often leave myself out of the equation. And if I leave myself out of the equation of love and care and connection, then it's no good. I gotta be there too. I've got to bring
right.
myself, whatever that might be. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all.
so can you think of an
So that's
example
a work. That's a
of can you think of an example of bringing yourself to that equation, like a real life situation, or not?
well. It's usually when I'm by myself.
Hmm.
It's work when I'm by myself. That's when it happens.
Mhm.
Um, um, and that's the bugaboo for me because I don't, sometimes I can't see the the value of that or the importance of that okay, your feelings are coming up right now. Are you gonna, it isn't a question like this, but I'll either say, okay, I'm gonna let them come. I'm gonna let them come. I'm gonna let these feelings come right now. And which could include weeping, it could include me just falling into a sense of despair and um loss and all of that. And sometimes I'll shortcut it and I'll say, that's okay, that's enough. Okay, that's bang, boom. And that's okay. I'm not saying I'm wrong to do that. But the longer I can stay in my pain, which includes fear, then as I come back out of that, which I do, I'm lighter. I'm relieved. But it's a new practice to stay on that, stay with that pain. It's a new practice. It's scary. It's scary.
Well, it's scary
So
on many levels. It's a new thing, so there's not the familiarity with the old coping mechanisms, and it hurts. I mean,
totally.
it hurts to not run from it.
Yeah. 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 But yet there it is. That is, that again, I hold the culture responsible for a lot of this stuff. And the culture is us. It's me. I'm the culture.
Well, you're a shining beam of light, and
Well,
I hold the advertising industry accountable to some degree.
sure,
And
sure. Yeah,
I learned
yeah,
many years ago, I learned that the psychologists are mostly employed by the advertising industry. That's the most demand for psychologists of any faction of
certainly,
workforce. So,
certainly.
people who know how the psyche works are busy trying to figure out how to sell this or sell that within the context of
Right.
our fears or our pains or our longings or whatever.
Yep. Chris, I'm going to ask you to stop the tape for a minute
Okay.
and right back to it, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So, sorry.
Yes, or so, okay, right there. Now, don't they say it stopped? Okay. Okay. Okay, we're back.
Appreciate it. Yeah, so I think what we were just talking about, sharing here is this sort of I use the word abhorrence to the human experience, like we should be maybe just sort of fleshy automatons. I don't know. And so when one begins the travel on a path of spiritual awakening, human authenticity, it's quite lonely, and hard, difficult, challenging.
Yeah, and
but yep, go ahead.
and of course it's, for me, it has a combination of lots of things, lonely, confused, filled with delight and joy,
Yeah,
lots of things going on, and definitely worth every challenge that comes up.
yeah. You know what I often think about, I thought about this when I got sober, that that all of the times that I avoided feeling my feelings, being me, and going through life, all of the times I did that, which was, I'd say 100% of the time during much of my life, 100% of the time, I didn't allow myself to have the feelings that were happening inside of me, and I would, I push them down. I disassociate or compartmentalize, whatever word you want to use. So when I got sober and things started flooding in, I thought, well, gosh almighty, of course I'm going to have to feel all these feelings. I gotta balance the budget here. I gotta balance the books. I mean, if I didn't feel anything at all, well, guess what? Now you're going to feel it. So I mean, I think that I'm still in that. I think I'm still paying my dues, and I don't mean that as a heavy, bad pat kind of thing. It's just that I'm so unpracticed at feeling this other side of life. I mean, I can do the good time Charlie, that's me, man. I can do that. People say, "Oh, you're so funny. You have such a good sense of humor." And I that's probably true. But it is the way that I didn't feel these other things. I tried to be this, so I used humor. As a matter of fact, a minister told me that years ago when I went to him for some help. He said, "Do you think maybe you try to be funny too much, or you know?" He saw it. He saw me using humor. So it's a dark humor, I think they call it. Sort of the dark gallows humor. I'm really good at that, and that is pushing away the more challenging aspects of this human life. I mean, so
Well, it's a coping mechanism, isn't it?
certainly,
So
certainly.
thank the Lord you had something to cope with.
Oh yeah. No. Good point, Chris.
And I
But
think you also,
we can take that too far. You can
yeah,
take
yeah,
it too far. That's the
yeah.
problem.
But I also think that people who are funny give others a sense of levity, and it's a gift. Uh, I understand that it's
Yeah,
maybe a cover up in some ways, but it's not all bad.
yeah, for sure. No, I agree with you, and I like watching different comedians that yeah, because that's what they do. They say, wait a second, hold on, let's lighten up here, and not because lightening up is loosening, uh not lightening up, going deeper is a little it has a tightness to it, um particularly if one's not very practiced at feeling that you get tight. It's kind of like your fight or flight thing going
Yeah, well,
on
you're
or
putting on
something.
your armor.
Yes, exactly. So I want to take the armor off and feel these things, because it's totally there's no buts about it. For me, I have to feel the more difficult things so that I can enjoy the joy. I mean, anyhow.
Well, and I think you've had such a profound spiritual experience in life, um, and that's the safety. No, it's a safety net and so much more. I mean, it's it's what gives life this tremendous sense of meaning and purpose,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so it's such a blessing and such a mystery. I mean, I think if there's anything that I experience on a regular basis, it's this sense of mystery that that the what I don't know is so much greater than what I know. But what I know is that, my heart craves God, and um and I'm not home until I'm home, I'm not. So I'm always trying to get home. I'm always trying to get home to God.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yep. I agree.
But that doesn't correlate with the pains of life. So,
What do you mean by that?
well,
I'm gonna
because I'm
take
in
another.
pain, emotional pain, doesn't mean that I'm not, that God is not with me. So,
Right,
um,
right. Yeah,
these
yeah.
trying to explain these things is sometimes pretty futile because it goes
It's
so far beyond
explanation.
explanation. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But I love the way you talk about your journey, and I think that so many people can relate to the fear, the confusion, the disconnection, the alienation. We've all been there, and we know how scary it is. And
Yeah.
so it's good to, put it out in the breeze and, give it some air.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally. Of course, that's what happens at at Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, AA meetings, is everybody's like, okay, here's my laundry. And everybody else is like, we know that. We know what that laundry is. It's not like, oh, it's so there's a comfort of understanding. And it's interesting when a newcomer comes in the room and they're sitting there and you can just see their eyes starting to widen, with, oh, I think I know these people, it's me, they're me, it's just, it's really, it's amazing. And so the whole altruistic piece too with AA, where there's nobody making any money. And I mean, if they take up a collection, they pay to the rent a room in a basement of a church. And so everything's like the ego cannot sink its teeth in anywhere. And that is so important, because if it finds one little, it'll say, yeah, and
And
then
the
all
relief,
bets are off.
the relief that I experience at a meeting when I hear somebody being very, very truthful with their experiences of pain and grief, and failure, although I hate that word. I just hate the word failure, because it implies that we've done something wrong. I mean, we're just being people. People are flawed. They're going to make mistakes, and it's okay.
Yes,
You
yes,
know,
yes,
but
yes.
when I'm in an Al-Anon meeting or an AA meeting, I go to Al-Anon more often, and somebody talks about their struggle and how they sort of negotiated with themselves around it. I mean, it's just like, it's brilliant. It's like finding a diamond. It's finding a
Mhm.
diamond on the road. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah,
treasure.
yeah. Richard Rohr, of course, wrote that book, Immortal Diamond, which is
Uh-huh.
about that,
Yeah.
about, we have this spark within us, that cannot be destroyed. We can try like hell, but it ain't happening. This spark is cannot be extinguished, and that sure is good news.
Yeah. The good news. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, the
Um,
absolute good
and
news.
excuse me.
Sure.
Um, I've been in the program for since 1968, when my mother got sober, and then I stopped when I went to college, and realized about, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago, that I had never, since I stopped going to the program, I haven't heard the kind of truth that I heard there, and that I
Mhm.
really craved that truth. And so I was going to
Mhm.
go back. So here I am, this old lady, and I go in there, and it's the same people with different names. They're honest, they're truthful, they're resourceful, they're insightful, they're daring, they're brave, they're truth tellers, um
Yep.
just and they look just like me. They're just average folks, um
Yep.
but
Yep.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful souls. And I'm so inspired by them. I'm so inspired. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was so proud of my
Yeah.
mom for getting
Yeah,
so
they found a place. Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, it's they found a place where they can share their truth.
Mm,
And there's not very many places that you can do that,
no, I don't. Yeah, I mean, maybe in a therapist's
you know.
office, maybe. Maybe when you're in
Maybe the
prison,
confessional booth, maybe the confessional booth. I
maybe.
don't go there, but that might
Yeah,
be a place.
I don't either. Yeah, and not that I shouldn't, but I just don't.
Yeah,
And
so yeah,
yeah, it's a
yeah,
very
so yeah, such a freedom,
so Richard Rohr also called the
such a
12-step
freedom.
program the most important spiritual practice that the Western culture had to offer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He wrote that book, Breathing Underwater, which is his book on the 12 steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you, Richard. I heard he's retiring
Yeah, yeah, they've got
from his position.
a new guy running the show.
Yeah,
But it's,
yeah,
they've been doing a great job all the way around, and I'm sure he's
yeah.
going to continue to talk. So,
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I agree. So, I don't know if this is how long we were here today, but let's um maybe close up. I had written some notes the last time we spoke. Um, one thing I had here is appreciate your tears and welcome your humanity. And I
amen.
just like that. I think that I actually think you said that because they don't usually write down things that I say. So, yeah,
Well, so it sounds
yeah,
like a good way to end our session today of
yeah.
Holy Compost.
Appreciate our tears. Yeah.
Okay, my friend.
Thank you, Chris. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Talk soon.
Okie doke.
All righty.